Would you sign up for a powerlifting competition without ever having lifted weights? Or register for a marathon next weekend when you can barely walk a mile without getting winded? No, there are natural and obvious boundaries in place in these examples, but what about your business? Do you know when and why to say no? In our second episode, we talked about understanding your core audience to know which marketing platforms align best with your business. And in today's episode, we'll continue to build core strength by understanding how and why to set healthy boundaries. Welcome back to the Fitness of Business. I'm your host, Leslie Boyce. Every episode kicks off with a listener question in a segment called, Hey Coach. So, what would you ask if you had a business coach in your back pocket? Submit your questions to Leslie at thefitnessofbusiness.com.
Hey, coach. So I'm 10 years into running my psychotherapy practice. I love what I do. I genuinely want to help everyone, but I am so drained from always saying yes to client requests outside of our scheduled sessions. I have clients who email me and some who even have my personal cell phone number. How do I stay compassionate while setting healthy boundaries and protecting my energy and my own mental health? I worry if I start setting boundaries now, that I'm going to lose their business.
So, I'm going to tell you two stories about blurry boundaries and the cost after they have been crossed, and then share what I recommend to my clients for communicating boundaries effectively and professionally. So, I opened a CrossFit gym back in 2012, which was like the peak of CrossFit, and everybody wanted to do it. It was in super high demand, but there was no playbook, no SOPs on how to run a CrossFit gym or any sort of business. And so I opened my doors and I was panicked that nobody was going to walk in the door. Nobody was going to want to pay any money to be there. I mean, they're just working out for fun, right? And so I definitely developed very quickly this scarcity mindset. And so I would say for the first couple of years that I was open, anyone who wanted to join, I let them join. But the reality is, I really knew that I wanted a space that was safe and supportive and welcoming and not competitive. But I think the feeling of fear of failure and that nobody was going to actually patronize my business overtook those core values. So here's a story. So we were doing a workout. It was a big, long workout one day, and the class was really, really full. And there was this one guy who had been a member for several months, and he kind of notoriously always put too much weight on his bar. He burned out halfway through the workout, but whatever. His priority was just to work really, really, really hard. And so we were doing this long workout, and true to terrible form, he put entirely too much weight on his bar, and I recommended that he take a little bit of weight off his bar because the workout was going to get hard fast, and it was just a better idea to go a little bit lighter. And he said, "No, no, 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 no. I got this. It's fine. It's fine." And so, sure enough, maybe 5 minutes into the workout, he's already struggling. His form is horrendous. And I find I'm spending 80%, if not more, of my time coaching him, trying to get him to perform with a little bit more integrity, shall we say. And he was just not having it. He didn't care. He kept the weight on his bar. And so at one point, I was getting nervous that he was putting other people in danger. And so he went to do another part of the workout in a different part of the gym. And when he came back to his bar, I had actually taken weight off and made the weight lighter. And he was not pleased, shall we say. He grabbed all his stuff and he stormed out and canceled his membership and obviously never came back. And I really wasn't sure I had done the right thing. It felt right in the moment. And then that feeling of panic set in and paranoia that he's going to, badmouth me or leave me a bad review or tell other people not to join my gym because, I don't push people hard enough or whatever his version of the story was. I was worried it was going to be hugely detrimental to my business. And it was so interesting because after the workout, I actually had several other members who had been in that class with him come up to me and thank me for doing what I had done. They said they had never felt comfortable with him in class and they were always worried he was going to hurt himself. And he just didn't really fit in. So here's the thing. If you know who your ideal clients are, those ideal clients are going to respect your boundaries and they're going to align with the environment that you create. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. So here is what I recommend to my clients in order to just kind of check in with themselves. Write down in a spot that's most visible to you every day, a post-it note, your computer, a dry erase board, a notebook. It doesn't really matter, but it's got to be visible to you. What are your business's non-negotiables? It doesn't have to be a long list, but you have to be very, very certain of the list and very clear on communicating. You have to be very, very certain of your business's non-negotiables. So, for instance, for me right now, when I'm taking on new clients for my coaching programs, one of my non-negotiables is I won't work with someone who puts in less effort than I do. Like, why is that important to me? Because when I work with someone, I am so fully invested and I want to see my clients succeed so badly and in my core, but ultimately I can't do the work for them. And that is something that I just have to recognize quickly, or resentment builds on both sides. And then I feel like I'm somehow failing them and they don't feel like they're making progress. And then nobody's happy. So after you have your list of non negotiables, open up your calendar and schedule 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours, once every 6 months to review your list. Be honest with yourself. Do you still agree with these non negotiables or have they changed? And have you let a few clients or parts of your business sort of slip or become a little bit gray with a few of these non negotiables? It's okay. It's not too late to course correct, but this is an opportune time for you to go back and reflect on the way that you can operate moving forward. So, in my gym, we would run group fitness classes, and the schedule is pretty much consistent week after week, month after month, of course, with the exception of holidays and one offs here and there. But for the most part, it was pretty consistent. Every day you knew what classes we were going to have. And I had this one longtime member who had my personal cell phone number, as a lot of my gym members did. And she had been coming to the gym for several years. And I distinctly remember she texted me one Saturday morning at 6 a.m. and said, "Hey, can you remind me again what time classes are today?" And at first, I wanted to say, look at the website. Or they're at the same time they are every Saturday at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock or whatever time they were. And I was so mad. But then I started to second guess myself. I thought, well, I should respond and I should respond quickly because if I don't, she'll think I'm ignoring her. And then she won't think that she's important to me and that I don't value her business. And what if she actually can't figure out where the calendar is posted? And so I should get back to her so that I can mitigate, any chance that she might feel like I left her flailing or I left her to figure it out on her own. And so I texted her back quickly and I said, "Oh, yep, class is today at 10 o'clock." And I found myself feeling really resentful. And I realized I was not mad at her. I was mad at myself because I had set this precedent. I had given entirely too many people in the gym my personal cell phone number. And not only that, I set the precedent of responding to their inquiries at all hours and quickly as if I didn't have business hours. So imagine that you go to your favorite neighborhood restaurant every Tuesday night with your significant other. And it's just your thing to do. But then there's this one Tuesday that you both have to work late or the kids are sick or whatever happens. And you realize that the restaurant has closed an hour ago but you haven't eaten dinner and you're really hungry. Do you call the chef at home and say, "Hey, could you whip me up some dinner and bring it to me at my house?" No, that's ridiculous because there are industry standards and boundaries. Your business is no different. You're not being difficult, you're just running a business. So here's what I tell my clients now who feel like they are too late to start establishing boundaries, just like our listener. If you feel like you're already in too deep, you're not. Take a step back and define your ideal boundaries. If you were to get no pushback, if there was no chance of retribution or that somebody would cancel membership or cancel their business with you, what would your boundaries be? Because if you are not very clear about them, then you cannot communicate them. So, next, communicate them clearly and compassionately. So, to my listener, I might suggest something along the lines of, in order for me to be the most effective therapist, I need to honor some boundaries for myself. And here's what they are. An alternative might be hosting a weekly or biweekly office hours so people can pop on and say, "Oh, during, this time from 7 to 8 p.m., I know that I can have some questions answered." Decide what's appropriate for your business. Then I would recommend audit your systems. Is your website current? Is it mobile optimized? And are your expectations and your business hours clear? Or is there maybe an updated technology that you can make work for you, like a chatbot that can answer some of these questions? So here's what I hope you take away from today's episode about boundaries. Know your boundaries and communicate them sooner than later. But it's not too late now. It is never too late. The longer you wait to clarify these boundaries, the more the resentment builds, and everyone, including your clients, will feel it. Respect starts with valuing your own time and space. Check the show notes for these key takeaways, as well as suggestions for reviewing, refining, and communicating your boundaries. Let me continue spotting you through your biggest business challenges. Send me your Hey Coach questions at leslie@thefitnessofbusiness.com, and we'll work through them in upcoming episodes to book expert guests you really want to hear from. So, what business plateau has you feeling stuck? What's keeping you up at night about your business? And what would you ask if you had a business coach in your back pocket? Because here's the thing, every rep you're struggling with, another entrepreneur is grinding through the exact same workout. Running your business alone doesn't have to be lonely. Hit submit on that question, subscribe to this podcast, and let's turn your overwhelm into business breakthroughs.